if I had a will done about 6 years ago, and this is before the birth of my last child, should I even bother getting it updated as there's been an addition to the family?
Yeah, well, because it depends what was in it and what you said in your previous will. But if you didn't mention your children in the previous will, then there is a risk, because if, for example, if there was only you and your spouse at the time, we'll talk about you, George, because it makes it nice and easy. If there's only you and your lovely wife at the time, and you didn't have any children, and you simply said in the will, I give everything to my lovely wife, what happens if something happens to the two of you at the same time? Husbands and wives tend to travel together in cars, much to the husband's annoyance sometimes, but and in planes and on trains and so on. So if something happened to the two of you at the same time, the will would effectively be pointless, because you haven't made any provision for anything else to happen. Now, Section 35 of the Succession Act in New South Wales says that a person has to survive by 35 days in order to, 30 days in order to inherit. So if you and your wife were unfortunately killed in the same car accident, neither of you has survived by 30 days, and effectively you would both be intestate. So your assets would then be dealt with in the manner that we talked about before. Your child has been born. We say to people that wills are, in the old days when everybody used to write out by hand wills, and seen all the English shows with the solicitor blowing dust off. Those solicitors must have suffered from shocking emphysema, because their offices were always full of dust. But blowing the dust off documents and writing long wills longhand with a quill, etc. In those days, you wrote out a will and you very rarely changed it. But these days, with word processing and what have you, wills can be amended very quickly. And we now normally tell people that they should review their will every couple of years. Most of the time there may not be any sort of issue, but things change so readily. Kids grow up, they get married, they get divorced, your own personal circumstances change, etc., etc. So reviewing your will every couple of years is a great idea in order to make sure that it's up to date. And that review can be simply just reading it through, just to make sure that you haven't missed anything.